Welcome back, everyone. Left the music playing in the background again there. Welcome back to the final night of the 2021 12 beers
/2.
Yeah. 21. Yeah, it's like a championship. Welcome back to the final night of the 2021/2022 12 Beers of Christmas craft beer extravaganza presented by Brewvana. Once again, I am back. I am Brian as your host, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Todd. What's up, Todd? How's it going?
I'm doing wonderful. I am both happy and sad. I am experiencing the feeling of bittersweetness because it's last night, but the show will always go on in my heart, Brian.
Yes, the show will go on. And as this is our beer show, yes, we got a beer to open. We have a wonderful guest with us tonight to talk about this awesome beer, but let me open my final slot there. And if you didn't know why we're doing the 12 Beers of Christmas that started on Christmas and going to today, the 5th of January, has to do with the little emblem that's on there. Yes, this ties back to the biblical story of Christmas, where it took the three kings 12 days to reach where the baby Jesus was born, and they got there on what would have been January 5th. So now you know that's why the 12 days of Christmas goes from Christmas until in the new year. Drop my little card. Got another awesome little card. And an awesome beer. Todd's way ahead of me because I was blabbing on about this.
Well, yeah, it has a mustache on it, so I have like some deeper responsibility to this beer, I think.
Yeah.
50 West,
50
which
West,
someone in the chat said that they live right off of 50 West in Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm gonna use their name so that we can like mini dox them.
Kit Kat says whoop to ending on an Ohio beer. I guess some Ohio
Larry.
Affinity.
Larry.
Shout
just
out
Larry. There's probably more than one Larry there.
Shout out to Larry.
Every beer is a journey. Join us for the ride. Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah. Shout out to Cincy. Cheers.
Cheers, Brian.
Cheers, Todd, and cheers, everyone at home. I keep motioning over this way just to give you a little behind the scenes baseball. I have another monitor over here where the chat is, and that's where like I picture you all being is right over here. So I'm cheersing to you now. Salante, Kit Kat. Oh, that is wonderful. Wonderful fermentation character coming from that Belgian yeast.
I mean,
that is just an all-day crusher. That is a beautiful beer.
Full disclosure, I do not drink a lot of white ales because I'm stupid and I order the same thing everywhere I go. But like I said, I'm stupid and I should drink more white ales, and this is a particularly good one. Oh, it's good. It's got that like floral.
Mark G asks, why does it start on Christmas? It should start on the 26th, as Epiphany is January 6th, which is correct. Yeah, Mark, you're probably right. You probably know way more about this stuff than we do. We probably should have started on the 26th, but we do it starting from Christmas because that's what
it's a good gift to receive.
Yeah. We're gonna give you
You can't take a liberty every now and then.
Yeah. Keith says, Mark, better idea, make it 13 days of Christmas. I think that'd be a weird box design. Also, I think
Baker's Days of Christmas.
The Baker's, Baker's dozen beers of Christmas. So we're back for another night, another beer. And as always, we have our chat moderator, Ben, with us to help facilitate your audience questions. So please feel free to use the chat to start your conversations, comment your own tasting notes and thoughts, and engage with each other. All of the wonderful people in the chat, welcome back for our final night. It has been wonderful seeing you all every night for the past 11 nights now. Remember, if you do have a question for Todd or myself or our wonderful guest tonight, please use that handy Q&A feature, and our chat moderator, Ben, will let us know. Hey, Ben, how's it going?
No, 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 no. I don't want this to be over. But all good things must come to an end. And as with everything else that goes slightly askew, if you are upset that this starts on Christmas and not the 26th, you can just blame Tom.
Blame Tom.
I just want to bring that back.
Yeah.
All back.
As someone whose job is it to kind of cause Tom lots of problems, I co-sign that as
Excellent.
much as possible.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Definitely.
Cool. So I think we should start with David's question in the Q&A before we bring our guest on here. What is a white ale?
Well, white is the absence of color or all the colors combined? I always forget.
I opened this up and didn't really show it. White is the opposite of this wonderful beanie that you got. No, a white ale refers typically to a beer that's brewed with a hefty portion of wheat in the grist. Traditionally, this is not my forte. I cannot just speak about this off the cuff like I can with like New England IPA and other like sour styles of beer. But if I'm remembering right, white ale typically is derived from Belgium. Belgian white is the most common type of white ale, but like a lot in American craft beer, we have taken that original style, put our own twist and spin on it, and you get the white ale or American white ale out of that, and which is typically going to be pretty similar to an American blonde ale, except the big change is going to be a Belgian yeast being used in fermentation, and then all the wonderful fermentation character that comes from using a Belgian yeast.
Yeah, and characteristics unfiltered, so hazy, like good IPAs. See what I did there, Brian? And top fermented wheat beer, right?
Yep.
That active yeast. Also like derivative of Belgium. Are you noticing the skew?
Yeah. Did you notice the UPC barcode as a vehicle? Great.
I did, but I'm a little hungry, so I thought it might have been a pig, which is pathetic. Like it's very, very, very clearly a vehicle, but
yeah.
And there's another cool thing. This beer was brewed in honor of a friend of the brewery, Alan White, which I like things like that. Can is cool too, like sort of a lot of Cincy like on here, but a lot of other little.
Well, I would assume attractions along 50 West.
You know,
the Arch. St.
We
Louis.
might have to ask someone about that later.
We probably should. What better time than now? Why don't we
start asking questions?
Cool. Well, please, everyone at home, welcome us. Join us tonight in welcoming the head of brewing operations at 50 West, Scott LaFollette. Did I get that last name right?
Pretty close. LaFollette.
Okay. LaFollette.
Can you hear me? Am I working? Okay.
Wonderful.
This is literally the third Zoom I've ever done in my life, so bear with me.
Cool.
Scott, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, I work in beer. It's a very analog world.
Yeah.
Fair. How are things in Cincinnati?
It's Cincinnati, man. It's neither up nor down. It's pretty much just in the middle all the time.
Perfect. Yeah, so let's Ben says when everybody else was busy Zooming, Scott was busy brewing. So thanks for doing that instead. Let's talk. I have some questions here, but let's talk more about this Doom Pedal before we get further into it. Could you explain what Doom Pedal means to you, what Doom Pedal means to 50 West as a brewery, and how you kind of approach this beer?
So to answer like kind of a couple of the sort of rhetorical questions were being thrown out there. First one I want to hit, which is the most important, You guys mentioned it is brewed in the memory of our friend Alan White. Alan White was it was before my time, but it was a guy who worked here. He was a bartender. He rode his bike to 50 West every day. He was killed in a bicycle accident. So this beer was brewed in honor of him. We call it Doom Pedal because he was into doom metal, the music genre. So kind of the mashup of doom metal and pedal, because he was big into biking, created the name of this beer, Doom Pedal. So when you say it really fast, it kind of sounds like doom metal, but the idea is that that's the tribute to Alan White, doom metal. Exactly. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get
Sounds
that
perfect.
piece. That probably the most important piece of the entire thing so far. I would definitely want to get that out of the way first and foremost.
Mhm.
But yeah, Doom Pedal is it's a beer that's been around for us for quite a while. The brewery started in 2012. It's this beer probably came about sometime within the first year that they were around. It was called something different at the time, and then when everything happened with Alan, it was kind of renamed in honor of him because it was his favorite style of beer. I don't recall what they actually called it before that because that's a million years ago now. But it's it's a Belgian wit style. So Belgian wit literally translates to white, or meaning wheat. So you guys were talking about, that it basically means it's brewed with a hefty portion of wheat malt, which it is. A lot of German malts on in addition to that, and on top of that, coriander, orange peel. Basically, a lot of the very traditional things you would find in the Belgian wit style classically. Not so much an American version of it. We use all imported ingredients in it. The American part of it is, yes, we're brewing it kind of in an American brewing system using American methods. We're not doing crazy stuff like the Belgians do to brew these kinds of beers. So it's got a little bit of an American process to it, but it's all 100% Belgian and German and continental ingredients in it.
And
Awesome.
and you've also done a non-American thing, which is not shipping orange slices with all cans to everyone, which I think we all can appreciate.
Correct. Yes. We like to leave that up to the drinker to decide if they really want an orange slice or not. One thing I do like to do with this beer, I saw you guys were pouring it. One thing I do like to do with this beer first before I pour it, I always like to give it like a kind of just a little swirl. It is an unfiltered beer, but as the can kind of sits, some of the yeast will fall out. It's just a natural part of the world. So I always like to give it a little swirl before I pour it. I'm pouring myself one here. Sorry, it's hard to make everything fit in the screen, but
it's your third Zoom ever. That's
exactly. I know.
That's a guy who's done dozens right there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least I can see myself in here, so I kind of know what I'm doing. Although the part that shows myself is like really small, but no worries. Here we go.
Cool.
Everyone else has been drinking it. I'm finally drinking it, so cheers.
Yeah, cheers, Scott.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks.
coming, and thanks for correcting me there on my labeling this an American version of this beer. Because
Well, I mean, we're in America, so it's an American version inherently. So
Going to save yourself there. Brian, let's do, I think, so head of brewing operations is a great title. I love it. I imagine that it could change brewery to brewery. So I think just like, what's the day to day for you? Like, what do you do when you get to work? What are you responsible for?
So as breweries go, obviously there's big craft breweries, there's super small craft breweries. If anybody kind of knows how that stuff goes, we just in 2021 we just kind of got the numbers together. We did 8,000 barrels of beer last year. So not super duper small, not what you would consider like a regional craft brewery. Our entire brewing staff we have 3 different brew houses in 3 different buildings. It's a whole long other story. But between all of our breweries, brew houses and breweries combined, we have 7 employees, including myself. So for me as the head of brewing operations, we're not big on titles around here. So basically like, what do you want to call yourself? So that's kind of the title I picked.
Brian gave himself this job title.
There you go. Exactly. So, I mean, people will say brewmaster. I shun that title because that's a title that like other people give you. You don't ever
earn
give yourself.
Yeah.
And I ain't anywhere near that. I've been in this business about 10 years, but I would say I'm another 20 from being to the point where I would consider myself a brewmaster of anything. So head of brewing operations, because we're a fairly small staff. I mean, I literally do everything. There's not a job in this brewery that I couldn't do tomorrow if I had to, because I often have to. Actually, over half of my staff is out with COVID right now. So today I was running the packaging line, and then I kegged beer. And then I had to sort some stuff in the cooler, and then I came up here and did this. Tomorrow we're going to be filling some barrels of a barrel-aged beer that we need to get into storage. So I'll be working on that. So it's basically, I look at it as you're the guy who knows how to do every job in the brewery, and therefore you're teaching everyone to do those jobs. And I also do, all the sourcing, all the ordering, all the buying. I deal with distributors and shipping, and literally every aspect of the operation of the brewery basically has to flow through me.
Jack of all trades.
But it also master of all of them. Like
Yeah.
Yes. I'm also the head of maintenance. I'm the head of, think about all the jobs you could have in a company, and I'm probably you could consider me the head of most of them, except sales and marketing. I don't do that.
We know a guy. So I know you unfortunately mentioned that a good chunk of your staff is out with COVID right now, and I think everyone's probably sick of talking about COVID directly. But what I think is interesting about your role is, what have you noticed from start of COVID to now? Like, what has changed for you from a business perspective? I know it looks like you have a few distributors that you work with. You're getting your beer out there. Has that been a major change for you? I also know that you have like a volleyball league and like an ice skating rink. So are those projects sort of like, all right, we're going to like hold off on beach volleyball in our front yard for now, and we're going to try to make 8,000 barrels? Or how did the change shift over the last, whatever it is, 2 years?
It's been a very, very interesting journey. If you look at kind of how we were built and what we did pre-COVID, we basically have two separate facilities. They happen to be directly across the street from each other, but it's just how we've evolved. Our original incarnation was a brew pub that's in an 1827 farmhouse that actually during Prohibition was a speakeasy. So the brewery, the company was originally founded as that, has a small 10-barrel system. It was restaurant, full on just brew pub, everything you would think of as, the cool brew pub kind of thing. And then, they grew, they couldn't keep up with outside distribution demand just of draft beer. So in 2015, they took over a building across the street, which was this big kind of pseudo-industrial building that used to build outdoor play equipment, and had somewhere along the way been converted into a restaurant/bar that also built like 8 professional level volleyball courts next to it. I don't know how that happened, but that's what it was. That business was kind of failing, so we took over that facility.
You don't say.
So we literally inherited the volleyball courts. It was never anything we thought would be a good idea to do as a brewery. Hey, let's get some volleyball courts. We kind of took over a building that already had them. Revamped the restaurant, blah, 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 turned it into a production brewery/tap room, kept the volleyball courts because it's like 20,000 tons of sand. What the hell are you going to do with it? But you leave it.
Anybody
You say, okay, cool. We're going to be a craft brewery that runs volleyball leagues. And that started in like 2015, 2016, and it has progressed ever since then. Right before COVID happened, we were in the process of revamping this building next to us. So there's like our production facility, then there's these volleyball courts. There was another building next to that had a pizza restaurant in it. And that place went out of business. So we took that over, and we were kind of working on this idea of kind of rebranding it into this like brewery, tap room kind of burger concept just before COVID happened. So we were already like under construction. And we were taking a bunch of extra space that was in between all of this and turning it into a bigger beer garden. So it was very fortuitous because we were kind of like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. And then COVID happened. Everything got shut down. Our original brew pub was shut down. It actually has not even reopened since COVID. just because of many different things. It's a very small old building. Like, to do social distancing, you can fit like 10 people in the place. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But we opened this new burger bar concept and built this kind of bigger beer garden. And when you were able, at least in Ohio here, basically the way it worked was when they started letting restaurants reopen, you could only like kind of do outdoor seating and anything. Well, we happened to open a concept that was literally 90% outdoor seating. So in 2020, when you were just starting to be able to reopen, we were able to reopen our space. We took all the volleyball nets down in all these huge sand volleyball courts, put up picnic tables, distanced them 20 feet apart. And we could fit 300 people in this place, and everyone literally be 20 feet apart from each other. So it went like.
But no one could play volleyball.
What's that?
But no one could play volleyball.
But no one could play volleyball for a while. We eventually actually got to the point where when they allowed, there was literally a thing like they eventually said you're allowed to have outdoor sports, you're allowed to do volleyball. So what we would do is during the week, we started the volleyball leagues again. We would convert 4 of these courts back into volleyball courts, and they would run leagues all summer, to a diminished capacity, but they would run leagues. And then on the weekends, they would take the nets down, put picnic tables all over them, and just pack 200 people in the place all weekend. And on Monday, they'd switch it back.
Wow.
It was kind of ridiculous. So for us, we were one of the very rare places that our on-premise, our own premise, if you will, grew exponentially during the pandemic, which everyone else, like, all their stuff got just shut down. So it was a very rare, like, just confluence of factors. A lot of it, honestly, I will say was dumb luck, that we were doing this thing right when this happened, and it really took off. From a business standpoint, though, yes, our on-premise at other bars and restaurants went to crap. It's still crap. It hasn't recovered yet. It probably never will recover. Our package product took off to some degree because a lot of people were just drinking at home. To give you kind of an idea, pre-COVID, we were about a 7,000 barrel a year brewery. During COVID last year, we went down to 6,000. So we took about a 10+% hit. Yeah. This year, now we're at 8,000. So we've actually recovered barrelage to where we were before the pandemic. So it's worked out amazing for us.
Yeah,
that's great.
Really, really impressive.
I
was just go ahead, Mark.
No, Todd, your thoughts? I was going to shift to something different, so
I had nothing to add.
If I'm being too wordy, cut me off.
No, you're being wonderful.
No, you're the best.
That sounds like that couldn't have worked out better for a brewery to have that outdoor space ready to go and just to be able to adapt and then not lose a lot and then come back 1,000 barrels more than you did the year before COVID. I think we're actually on 2,000 barrels a year through our own space right now, which is ridiculous if you know how those numbers work. Yeah.
That's
wow.
A lot of beer.
Yeah.
So you do. All right.
Holy crap.
I'm doing back of the napkin math in my head because I got a napkin. So that's 4,000 kegs divided by 3. So that's 10 kegs a day. About. So you're selling.
I mean, it's obviously a seasonal
minus waste. Yeah.
So,
but still, that's like 1,500 beers a day, if average.
I mean, like it's seasonal. So you guys had mentioned something about the ice rink. So when we did that and we went, gangbusters for the summer, we're like, hey, what are we gonna do for the winter? Because we basically have no indoor space, and you really can't have much. So they decided to put in an ice rink last winter. And that went really well. We actually brought it back again this winter. So I mean, there's people. It's 9:00. It's about to be over for the night. It's 9:00 here on the East Coast, if you will. But there's been people ice skating out on our ice rink all day, randomly. Now, a lot of them are kids, so they're not really contributing to that beer number. But their parents come and they drink. So
well, the kids are an indirect contributor because the kids are annoying to the people that don't have kids, and then those people buy more beer to compensate for their annoyance.
Yep. We became a very family-friendly brewery. Almost, honestly, too much. And for my personal standpoint, like if you're, looking for the cool place to come out with your friends and hang out at a brewery, like this probably isn't the place because there's 10-year-olds running around here all day, every day. And like people will literally bring their kids on a Saturday morning. We open at 11 in the summer when it's warm. You'll see people start streaming in like at exactly 11 o'clock when we open. It'll be a mom, dad, and 3 kids. They literally bring like a bucket of beach toys and they'll set their kids down in the sand and just let them play like they're on the beach while mom and dad drink all day.
I've got a beach house to sell you in Cincinnati. That's the old saying.
It's attached to a brewery.
Talk about a brand. My goodness, if you can, I'm sure breweries can only dream of being a place that like people know that there are sand pits there enough that they can cozy up to the picnic tables before noon. That's super impressive.
Yeah, again, if you're an Uber beer geek and you're looking for a super awesome taproom experience, it's a little different than that, but it's worked out well for us.
Yeah. So I do want to shift gears a little bit to the production side of things. So I was surprised to hear that you're I was surprised to hear that 8,000 is the number that you're doing in a year in terms of production, especially because you're sitting in front of some very nice pieces of lab equipment. Can you talk about the importance of, I think a lot of people that don't brew a lot or have never been exposed to production brewing get this idea, this fantasy of brewing beer that it's 90% art and 10% science, where I would probably say it's
exactly the opposite.
Exactly the opposite. So can you talk about the importance of that scientific approach to beer?
Yeah, a little bit. For us, this brewery started in 2012, started as a brew pub. The idea was they would just only sell beer in their own space, and then people really wanted it. So they started selling drafts, to other bars and restaurants. That got bigger. They had it at another brewery, et cetera, et cetera. But what we've been able to do is, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. What's been kind of nice is we've taken definitely a very slow growth approach. There are breweries, even here, around us, that started later than us, that grew very rapidly to be bigger than us. And nothing against those guys. I love those guys. They make great beer, awesome people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what you're seeing is, it's a little bit of the, you shot your wad, so to speak, really quick, and you grew really fast, and like there's nowhere else to go. Mm-hmm. Now some of those guys are 6-7 years old, and they're sitting here going, "Oh shit, sorry," but they're going like, "I can't sell any more beer. Where do I go? What do I do?" Yeah. And they're actually like starting to now kind of come down in volume. Well, they've built their everything to be like this growing 50%, 60, 70% a year brewery. And then like when you, instead of, if you're set at growing 70% and you only grow 40% one year, that's great. Except your investors are like, "Hey, you told me you were going to grow 70, you only grew 40. What the hell is going on?" So for us, there's a million people you can put in that category, not even just like locally, just across the country. But so for us, number one, we're family owned. We don't have investors, which is great. So everything moves at the pace that we want it to move at. So we've grown very slowly and very progressively. If geography quiz, I guess, but here for you. But we only sell beer in Southwest and Southeast Ohio and Northern Kentucky. So we haven't grown to like, oh, we sell beer in 13 states or whatever. We keep it very local. We're about to add a little bit more territory in Ohio this year, but it only gets us like halfway up Ohio. It doesn't even get us to the entire state of Ohio.
Columbus, going into Columbus.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're about to go into Columbus, and actually, randomly enough, we're going to start selling beer in West Virginia. The idea being that's the route that 50 takes. So the idea is our goal, which is a little weird from a geographic standpoint, is we actually want to grow more along Route 50 across the country, as opposed to growing out radially from where we are.
So most breweries would do, expand out radially.
The interesting thing about our brand is because it's 50 West, and 50 West goes from the East Coast to basically the West Coast. From a brand resignation standpoint, like it
a lot of
makes
potential.
It's a brand that can resonate, anywhere along Route 50. So Kansas City, Missouri. Like I think you were saying something about someone from Kansas City saying something about
Larry.
50 West. Well, look, 50 West in Kansas City makes sense because 50 West goes through there. 50 West in Cleveland, Ohio makes no sense because no one in Cleveland, Ohio knows anything about 50 West because it goes to the southern part of the state. So our goal is to start kind of branching out linearly along 50 West, and the first kind of big step to that. So we went into Southeast Ohio because 50 goes through there as opposed to going into the more populous areas of Columbus or Cleveland in Ohio, because the brand doesn't really resonate there as much as it does in Southeast Ohio, like where Athens, which is like where Ohio University is, and then going from there into West Virginia.
Yeah, there's definitely a new theory about growing businesses is that you can grow a brand or you can grow a company, right? You can grow a product, you grow a brand, people are going to recognize it, and it's going to, like, there's product fit on 50 across the country. Whereas to get into North Dakota, I don't know, I assume 50 doesn't go all the way to North Dakota, but yeah, it's like, what's 50? Yeah. You said geography lesson or quiz, and I like had a panic attack because I don't know anything. But yeah, it's.
Yeah, literally I'm literally shitting on you because I'm looking at a Google map of 50 West right now and being like, it goes through
like 13 states or 12 states in the District of Columbia or something like that.
Oh, Ben just dropped
we actually have a flag from every state hanging in our tap room.
That's a brand.
I don't know what half of them are, but supposedly that they tell me that's what it
is. That's the Delaware flag there.
Yeah. Well, the one that trips everyone up is, I guess, apparently we have a flag. There's an actual flag for Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, and no one knows what it is when they see it. Like, what is that? And they, like, look it up, and it's like, oh, it's the flag of Washington, D.C. Okay, sure. You tell me. I don't know.
I would just be like, that's the 3 Stars logo, or that's the Red Bear logo.
Yeah. Exactly. So... this is a quick question, not from the Q&A, but something that I like to ask people on the brewing side, because you get to like choose what beers to make. And then what about like telling people what to drink? Obviously we got the white ale, but what's like beer 2 for you? If you're, if you were going to send everyone on the stream a second beer from 50 West, what are you sending? What's something you're proud of?
So for me personally, so as a brewer, it's a little weird, you're every day you're kind of, brewing this and brewing that, and like, what's the next cool thing? What's the next cool thing? It's like, oh, hazy IPAs, pastry stouts, blah, blah, blah. Interview 50 brewers, and if they'll tell you honestly, 49 of them hate hazy IPAs and pastry stouts. We brew them because we have to, because it's what people want. Those same 49 brewers will probably tell you they just want a really nice, awesome, clean lager. So my favorite beer that we do with any reasonable level of distribution is our 50 West lager. It's 100% German ingredients. It's 100% German Pilsner malt, 100% German hops, 100% German yeast. Obviously processed through an American brew house, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just it's a nice, flavorful, pretty easy drinking lager. 4.5%. If I'm taking a 6-pack of beer home, which I generally don't do a lot because drink all the time, whatever, that's the one I'll take home.
Nice. It's checking chat here.
There's a couple questions, and so Funk Z, good. It says, is double dry hopped common on a wit?
On a wit?
Yeah.
Even single dry hopped would be very uncommon on a wit.
I think this is a reference to the card, which says it's double dry hop, double hazy, which I think this is a misprint and error.
I would absolutely say that is probably some kind of error.
Absolutely. So Brian and I got in the pre-show. I just kept telling Brian over and over again. I was like, dude, this is not a white IPA. This is just a white ale. And Brian kept referencing the IPA. And I was like, dude, it's a white ale. And I think we've gotten to the bottom of our disagreement is that we sent some bad info to the lovely people of the world. So
yeah, I'm very sorry for that. I don't know if that
That's on-
emanated from us or you,
That's on
but
us.
yeah, this
Us,
is
us,
not.
us.
This is absolutely 100%. There's like 4 pounds of hops in an entire 60 barrel batch of this beer. And that is all in the hot side. It is not dry hopped
All bitter,
once,
yeah.
let alone twice. So
Mhm.
I apologize to anyone out there.
You don't have to.
This
We
is
have to.
a Belgian wit beer. It is definitely not dry hopped and or double dry hopped IPA or anything of that sort.
Yeah, you can
Yes.
you can NFT those cards and they'll maybe be worth more as a misprint or something like that. But so the quick answer is double dry hopped comment on a wit would be like the weirdest thing going, and double hazy doesn't really mean anything.
Go on Untapped. I'm
especially-
sure you'll find one.
I mean, double hazy, if I had a tattoo, that's probably what it would say.
Go on Untapped. I'm sure you can find a double hazy dry hopped wit. I'm sure someone's made one
I'm gonna
somewhere.
Google it.
If you can think of it, it's been done.
Yep. All right.
He's turning to his other computer. He's definitely
Yeah,
looking it up right
I'm
now. aren't you?
Googling it.
No, go on Untapped and look it up.
I'm sure there is. We, Scott, on New Year's Eve, we had a game show to do something fun to like kick off New Year's Eve. And I literally went on Untapped and played real or fake beer names with everybody. And I came up with what I thought were some of the most ridiculous beer names I could think of. And you punch it in on Untapped and there's 3 beers named after it. And they each have 1,500 check-ins. And I'm like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, it's a cesspool, honestly.
Yeah.
You get down to it.
Okay. All right. We're going to wrap up here with what we're calling the Cincinnati Power Round.
Ooh.
Todd and I are going to fire back and forth here with some questions. I'll start. Todd will go. We got some quick Cincinnati focused questions for you, Scott, to
I'll
wrap
keep it as
things up.
brief as I can.
Okay. 1, Skyline Chili, delicacy or disgusting?
If you live here, it's a delicacy. If you live anywhere else, it's disgusting. Period. That's just the only way I can describe it.
Correct answer.
Accurate. Joe Burrow, real deal or real bust? This relies on you being a football fan.
Not a big football fan. He seems pretty good, but he plays for the Bengals, and the Bengals always suck, so they'll probably figure out some way to screw it up.
Opinion on the famous hippo.
The what?
Your opinion on the famous hippo.
The famous hippo?
Yes.
Like from the zoo?
Yes.
I mean, it's a hippo. So here's the deal. Here's the crazy thing about that stupid hippo. Hippos are nocturnal. The zoo's only open during the day. When you go to the zoo, you never freaking see the thing because it's sleeping in the back.
Fiona, poor Fiona
I'm dead
catching
serious. I'm
shrapnel
dead
from
serious.
our game.
Look it up. Hippos are nocturnal.
Hippos are
And
nocturnal.
the zoo ain't open at night.
My daughter's favorite animal is a hippo. Yes. Todd, go.
Brewery that isn't 50 West that you're going to on your day off, if you ever have one.
Yeah, I never have days off. So unfortunately, there's like 30 breweries that have opened in this town in the last like 3 or 4 years that I haven't even made it to once yet. But if I've got my choice, honestly, the place I go is a brewery in Cincinnati called Nine Giants. It's a very small brewery. They only sell there. They don't really package. They do awesome, innovative stuff. If you're ever in Cincinnati and you're looking for where to go, take it as a recommendation from a brewer, go to Nine Giant.
There we are.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan.
Your favorite nickname of Cincinnati, the Athens of the West or the Paris of America?
I've never heard either of those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Wikipedia.
I've heard it called the armpit of America before, but I've heard that for a lot of cities. In Cincinnati, we call it Toledo the armpit of America.
Well, I thought it was funny. Do they mean it's just like the Athens of Western Ohio, like because there's Athens, Ohio, and like Eastern?
I've literally never heard that. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I got nothing.
All right, well,
on
then
that
we'll
one.
give you an equally good question. Who is a more famous Cincinnatian, Charles Manson or Ted Turner?
I would argue Charles Manson.
probably.
But I think I don't know that anyone knows either of those are from Cincinnati, but yeah.
Yeah, we didn't either.
What was the other one that surprised us?
I actually didn't know Ted Turner was from Cincinnati. I knew Charles Manson.
Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer.
Dude.
Steven Spielberg.
Jerry Springer. So I'm of the age where like I grew up in the 80s. So Jerry Springer was apparently like the mayor in the 70s or something, and then like got caught with a hooker or whatever. I didn't know that in the 80s, but in the 80s, he was an anchor for like the local news, and he was like super well respected. And I didn't know all that stuff before that. So he was like, okay, it's the dude from the news. And then he started this like local talk show. It was just called like the Jerry Springer Show. And it was literally like he set up a studio in like a downtown hotel lobby and was just like, it was very like local, just like, oh, here's some people from the community. Let's talk to them and have a talk show. And it was the blandest crap you'd ever seen in your life. And then all of a sudden he got syndicated and became, you know, Jerry Springer that you know of that was like had transvestite hookers and shit on all the time. It was ridiculous. So weird. Yeah. When I grew up though, he was like the anchor man that everyone like trusted what he said on the news. Very weird.
Wonderful. Great.
I think he's
Scott,
he's more famous
thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks for giving us some of your time and your wonderful answers. Where can people find more about 50 West? Where can people find your beer?
Well, if you want to find out more, we have a website. I've never actually looked at it, but it's 50westbrew.com. As far as finding our beer, we do occasionally sell through some of the online sites, but honestly, for the most part, you pretty much got to be within 100, 150 miles of Cincinnati, Ohio to find it. If you happen to be in Cincinnati, it should be in pretty much every grocery store, liquor store, bottle shop, etc. that's around.
Awesome.
Very
Somebody
cool.
asked if you were on Tavor.
We have done stuff on Tavor, yes. I didn't want to say that word because I didn't know you guys are not Tavor, so I didn't want to like say
Different
the word
model.
of a competitor or something.
Different model.
Different
yeah.
model. Yeah, you name
Oh,
it.
yeah.
All good.
I just know every now and then I get an email saying, hey, we're shipping XYZ to so-and-so. A truck's coming on Tuesday. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll have it ready.
That's the,
Thanks, guys.
you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Scott, we're going to wrap up here for our final night here. So thank you so much for stopping by.
I didn't know I was on the final night. So I
Yeah.
hope everyone's had a great time through all of these days. And you should try to figure out if there's someone who's been on every night of all 12. If there's a way
Oh,
to-
there most certainly have been.
you,
I think
give
we
them a
have someone
prize or
who's been
something.
on all from Hanukkah all
Yes.
the way through Christmas.
All right. Well, that
'Cause we
person
did
probably
it.
just needs to get a life then. But you should still send them a prize.
You get a prize. We are
Ben
a
can pick the
valued part of
prize.
their life.
They like the digital analog experience.
They do.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. Thanks,
All
Scott.
right,
Have a
thank you
nice
guys. It's
evening.
been great. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right, Todd. Final thoughts, and then I have lots of final thoughts.
Yeah, my final thoughts are that you should get a lot of credit for doing this. I did 2 nights, and I might take like one of those, like, you know how like football players take ice baths after they like do like 2-a-day practices in the
You need to soak
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah, I'm gonna call out of work sick tomorrow. Don't tell our personnel guy. But yeah, it's very fun. It's super cool. What strikes me is that people engage. Like the chat is nuts for 11 nights. Like people I just appreciate how much people love beer, and it makes it very easy for us to do this. And so it's cool for me, but also like everyone should just say nice things to you because I did it twice, and like I just gotta sit here and make jokes and you like do all the planning. So without further ado, Brian, you like I'll like cede my time.
Yes. So Todd, thank you for joining us tonight as a co-host. First off, thanks to our guests for interesting conversations. Thanks to Andrew Smith of Hollywood. Thanks to Scotty and Dustin from City Brew Tours Birmingham, Ryan Johnson from Mad Tree, Natalie Baldwin from Breakside Brewing, Michael Stein from Lost Loggers and literally every beer blog, and Scott from 50 West. Thank you all so much. A special thanks to Mike, MC, and Ben for making our New Year's Eve stream extra special. Thanks to Ben and Tim for moderating the chat and interacting with our wonderful viewers at home. Thanks to all my co-hosts for these past 11 nights. Thanks to Tom, MC, Julie, Robin, and Todd for all your insight and to help hosting the stream. Thanks to everybody in our fulfillment, marketing, experiences department for making these boxes and streams happen. And finally, thanks to everyone at home watching. Without you, all of this would not have been possible. So thanks for buying a box, or thanks for having an awesome relative or friend that bought you a box. And thank you for tuning into the stream every night. We will be back next year. So you can go to bruvana.com/holiday for pre-sale information about both our Happy Hanukkah and our 12 Beers of Christmas box. We also want your opinions. Go to bruvana.com/survey and give us your feedback. When you finish that survey, you will get a discount code for next year's 12 Beers of Christmas. And finally, I have a very special announcement I would like to share with everybody tuning in tonight. I've enjoyed these past 11 days so much, and I hope you all have too. In that regard, I have a very special announcement.
He's taking the show on the road.
Yeah, we're taking the show.
12 more nights.
12 more nights. No, it's been mentioned a couple times in the chat about the Brews Less Traveled. But in February, I will be taking over as the host of our Brews Less Traveled podcast. And I will now be shepherding you through America's lesser known craft beer cities. These last 11 days have been so wonderful. So if you are interested in joining me every Wednesday night for a stream talking about some of the best beers from some of the lesser known best beer cities across America, please consider joining the Brews Less Traveled subscription box club. You can go to, and this is my favorite link I think I've ever shared about anything ever, bruvana.com/Brian to find a discount to get you a month free if you purchase 6 months of the subscription right now. Our next box coming up starts in February, and I will be the host. And as you will all be very, very happy to know, MC will be my co-host for February as we take you through a wonderful, lesser-known beer city in America. Is Ben coming too? I don't think so. I don't think they have a chat moderator over on Brews Less Traveled, but Ben's more than welcome to come and hang out. Ben, you doing anything in like a month from now?
I would love nothing more than to join you on Brews Less Traveled.
Well, Ben will at least be there. Let's pull up a calendar and see what the actual first date will be. Ben will be there on the 2nd of February for my first Brews Less Traveled stream. I am so excited to do that. I'm so excited to be the host of that, and so excited to get more opportunity to connect with you fine folks at home. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Really, like, it would just be me and Todd and everybody else just talking to a computer if you didn't tune in. So we so much appreciate you joining us. Todd, anything to plug? Ben, anything to plug?
I don't know. I think we might be at our plug limit, but I'm going to plug Brian. I think you should do bruvana.com/Brian. He's the hardest working man in internet beer Zoom show business and should be rewarded as such. He works super hard on this, and not a lot of people know as much about beer as him. So learn some stuff, but he has to wash the hat, so you won't see the hat for a little bit.
Hat and coat will be going away. Maybe a
Dry
new
clean
outfit.
only. Dry clean.
Maybe I should just wear my own clothes. Ben, anything to plug?
Well, I actually will have other things to do. I won't just cease to exist after this. I will be returning to leading beer and cheese experiences as well as city brew tours in Portland, Oregon. So if you would like the chance to possibly meet me and hang out with me, that is the best way for you to do that.
And you know who you can talk to about planning one of those lovely beer and cheese experiences? Me and my team. That's what we
Todd
sell.
Summers.
We have wonderful seasonal experiences. You and your company, you and your friends.
Yeah.
Look us up.
Yeah, check out Unboxed Experiences for all your virtual team building needs. Check out City Brew Tours for all of your all-inclusive educational craft beer experience needs. Now available in 15, soon to be 16 cities. Salt Lake City coming very soon. And finally, all those links are in the chat. Bruvana.com/survey. We want your opinions. Bruvana.com/holiday. Boxes for next year. And Bruvana.com/Brian. Brews less traveled with a month free with a 6-month subscription. As always, you can find more at just the regular Bruvana.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Bruvana. And for the final time, everyone have a absolute wonderful evening. I hope if you're continuing your drinking festivities tonight, you do so safely and happily and with more good beer. Let's get some intro music. Let's get, they should have offered this job to somebody else. I'm floundering here. Oh my God. Here we go. Let's all just enjoy this. Thanks to everybody so much for joining us.
Adios.
Ben, I'm gonna do it.